I'm going to admit I've stolen a lot of your studies off. I've stolen a lot of your...
Just give me a dime for every one you use, and then I'll give a nickel to the guy.
I don't have that money. So we've just listened to you speak about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And one of the key people that kept coming up, obviously, was Elon Musk.
Yes.
So Elon Musk is now going to be part of in some way, shape or form, I think, the Department of Efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that will play into the kind of integration of artificial intelligence on a wider scale?
Oh, absolutely. Because we, not to give away the big reveal, but Lord willing, I'm finishing another documentary.
Okay.
And I've done 4 documentaries on Klaus Schwab, the Great Reset, exposing the pandemic and exposing this global movement to build basically the Antichrist kingdom. They want to take over all the governments. They want to take over the economy, a cashless economy. They want to biometrically tie people into it. You can call it Great Reset all you want, Fourth Industrial Revolution. That's all it is, right? And I've exposed that. I've exposed not only Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, all his what I call SS agents that he's planted in every major developed country, even our own, Joe Biden, Kamala, all that stuff. But now I've switched gears and who else is helping him? Well, there's global elites, there's billionaires around the planet, and Elon Musk is one of them. And Pastor Gary, I found not 1, not 2, but 11 direct parallels of the Great Reset agenda from Klaus Schwab in the game that Elon Musk is directly involved with building the companies to pull it off. Dude, 11. This guy, and this is what these guys do. They say the first guy I start off with in this documentary is Bill Gates, also known as Bill Gates, right? And these are billionaire elites. And what they do is they got so much money. What they do is they pay off the media, right? And so the media spins them as these great rich billionaires who are philanthropists for humanity, and they're just here to help us with Bill Gates. I mean, Bill Gates, he's here just to increase the health of the population and improve our food supply. He's here to depopulate the planet. Right? That's the smoke screen. Same thing with Musk. Musk, as I just mentioned, on the one hand, he warns about AI. Oh, it's going to bring singularity. It's going to better get a handle on this. But in my home state of Nevada, in the States, he's got an AI company. It's called XAI.
Wow.
So you warn about it, but then you build it.
Yes.
You're a hypocrite. But see, that's the smoke screen that's being played on people. And he's involved in the Trump administration. So did we want Kamala? No, because that would have just been what I call a faster burn. But we're not stupid. We're going in with this both eyes open. And so Musk being on the agenda with Trump, I got some concerns with that. Because I know I've done the deep dive on Musk. And his hands are not squeaky clean. And they're not just not squeaky clean. He is helping the Great Reset work.
Yeah.
And now he's been thrust into a major position in our own government. You better believe I'm watching. And then not only that, just as a segue, and we've been watching since the election, there's other people that Trump has also appointed that are graduates of the Young Global Leaders Program. So again, there's this conglomeration. You got these elites that are coming on board. You got people that I would say are good, to use the term, patriots, whatever. But then you got this mix of people like a Musk, and so we're watching because I do believe it's going to have a direct effect. The other thing too, and I just saw this here, it blew me away. I wish I could have recorded somehow. Last night, I'm trying to find some sort of news program, right? And just what's going on here in Europe, because typically, even in America, we don't get, it's the fake news, the managed news, right? So what's going on here? And they shared a clip of Trump saying that part of his agenda is he's going to elevate Bitcoin.
Okay.
Elevate Bitcoin, and America's going to be the world leader.
Really?
That's a major change. Now, Bitcoin, of course, is cashless society, all that stuff. Most people don't realize with some of that currency is it can be tracked and tagged and all that kind of stuff. But still, that's cashless society stuff, right? And so I want to tell people all the time, okay, did we want Kamala? No. But does that mean we drunk the Kool-Aid, so to speak, with Trump? No, we're watching.
Yeah.
What we're hoping is, from man's perspective, we're hoping that with Trump getting in office, that maybe it's a slower move.
Yeah.
Kamala was a fast burn. Her and Biden were hirelings of Schwab to literally destroy America because America is the backbone of the global economic system, the dollar.
Yes.
So if you're going to reset it with a cashless global society, you have to get rid of the current system. That's America. That's us. So that's why they were brought in.
Yeah.
They didn't make it completely in the first term, came close. But the second term, we're convinced that would seal the deal. America's done. The economy's going to crash. They would write in as saviors. So now what we're hoping with Trump is, he's not completely innocent and clean. Okay. But what we're hoping is to use the phrase, a snowbird. And from a Christian perspective, we're just looking at, God, would you please give us as much time as possible to get your word out, to get the gospel out for you.
Yes.
And maximize this opportunity. So that's our focus.
Well, I would say, personally, I would look at America and see that America has a lot more freedom when it comes to sharing the gospel, certainly than Europe does. And, we have our street outreaches, we have our face-to-face with people, and quite often that's interrupted by authorities.
Yeah.
Do you think everything is now designed to come to a crescendo right now? So when I'm talking about this, I'm thinking of the likes of Alice A. Bailey's teachings on our book on 2025 and the externalization of hierarchy. Then I'm seeing the UFO news. Then I'm seeing everything come into play in terms of artificial intelligence. Do you think that we're coming into, not to put words in your mouth, but when we get to 2025 or in this period, that we're going to be going down the chute faster, so to speak, into the beast system?
Well, only God knows the exact time. But what we do know is these guys have an agenda.
Yeah.
But they also have a timestamp on their agenda. It's the 2030 agenda.
Yeah.
So they admitted that the pandemic was the trigger to get it started. Well, they went from the pandemic, they got quite a bit of mileage because that's their modus operandi.
Yeah.
How do you take over the planet? People aren't going to do that. You freak people out. Fear. They know that people, if you can get them into a state of fear and constant state of fear, people are more apt to surrender their freedoms in a state of fear than in a time of peace. That's why they're doing this fear. Create a crisis, you manage the outcome.
Yeah.
Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite, that's their motto. Order out of chaos. Right? And that's what these guys do. They create chaos, and then they come in and write in as saviors, but they change everything. And people, to bring back normalcy, they give up their freedoms. And so they started that with the pandemic, admitted it. In fact, it's still on the World Economic Forum's website.
Yeah.
Right? And it literally says there, Schwab's picture is quoting him, that the pandemic was their opportunity to reset, reimagine the world. They admit it. They admitted that it was designed for that. Anyway, whatever. So, but then, remember overnight, all of a sudden, there was 2 years, we're going to die, you're going to die, mask and shots and all. And then literally like that fast, hey, Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine. And we were sitting there like, what happened with COVID?
Yeah.
Right? Remember that? It was so obvious. We're like, what? They moved on to the next crisis because people were starting to catch on.
Yeah.
They got a 2-year running head start on their 2030 agenda with that global crisis, right?
Yeah.
And then it's Russia, Ukraine. Oh, by the way, do the research, Gary. Zelensky, you know where he comes from? The World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
He's a World Economic Forum.
The young leaders, was he?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know who else was?
I know Trudeau.
Trudeau, Canada, but speaking of Russia, Ukraine, Vladimir Putin.
Okay. It's like they're all part of the same
exactly,
thing. Yeah.
Gary. So it's another ruse. Once the pandemic started to die down, they got some good mileage out of it. They pushed their agenda further, but then it was dying down. So then all of a sudden, bang, Russia, Ukraine, it's going to blow up World War III. And then the next one, right after everybody's getting tired of Russia, Ukraine, now it's Israel. And now I'm not saying that's not legit, but I'm saying they're getting mileage out, right? And things of that nature. So this is what these guys do. But my point is, they basically almost got 5 years left to go. To answer your question in a really big roundabout way.
Well, this is good.
Then are we going to be on a downhill slide? Well, dude, they're running out of time.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I'm not a prophet of some of their own, but if we're still alive and still here, even with Trump in office, they're going to do something.
Yeah.
In fact, 2 years ago at the World Economic Forum, a new term was brought out by Schwab. I don't know if you remember that. He said, get ready for polycrisis.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
What's that? Poly meaning many, crisis, right? So get ready for many crises to hit you all at the same time. Not just one with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Not just one with Russia, Ukraine. Get ready for a whole bunch of things. We're going to hit you. It might be UFOs landing, right? All staged, faked, all that kind of baloney. It might be they're going to crash the system, right? As an excuse to bring in the cashless society. They might allow a couple dirty nukes to drop a bomb. And by the way, this is all
Yeah.
and so they want to create basically a shock and awe event eventually.
Yeah.
And the occult, which I came out of, the occult believes that the Antichrist is a good guy. In fact, I exposed this in our last Klaus Schwab documentary. That because I'm going like, how could these guys looky square in the face, smile as they're doing it, knowing what they're doing is going to kill millions of people, destroy their lives, destroy their countries? How do you do that? There's a satanic root. And I was able to trace Klaus Schwab's background. Watch it, I'll go in reverse order. And Klaus Schwab's best buddy was Maurice Strong through the UN. Maurice Strong was a New Ager occultist who had ties with Theosophy through Alice Bailey, who still is tied with the UN. I've been inside the UN. I filmed their meditation, right? Yeah. And you think you don't get it on the outside, but when you go inside, it's all about one world government, one world religion, New Age, occult stuff, right? Which the Bible calls the Antichrist kingdom. Alice Bailey before her was Annie Besant. Annie Besant is who hooked up with still Theosophy, still hooked up with Margaret Sanger from Planned Parenthood to begin to depopulate the planet, which is part of the Luciferian agenda. But then who started it all was Madame Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky was a rich occultist and who admitted demons talked to her, but she called it, the demons told her it's the new wisdom, Theos Saphos. Theos, God, Saphos, wisdom, the new God wisdom. And it was demons communicating with her. And they said that Lucifer is a good guy. The Christians got it wrong. And we need to listen to his advice in order to bring utopia or peace to the planet. And Lucifer says we need to hurry up and create one world religion, a one world government, and there's going to come a one world Luciferian ruler, and we need to follow him when he appears. Dude, what's that sound like?
Yeah, it's Revelation 13.
Only the Bible tells you what it is. Yeah. So here's my point. That's Theosophy, which is still in existence today. It moved from Madame Blavatsky to Annie Besant, who got teamed up with the depopulation, who Kilgate's father was the head of.
Yeah.
That's why he's doing it. It goes to Alice Bailey, who is still tied to the hip with the UN. Oh, by the way, they promoted Lucifer Journal, Lucifer Publishing Company. They literally think Lucifer's a good guy. So when we say it's a Luciferian order, it really is. These guys think that Satan's a good guy. And so then with the UN, you have Maurice Strong, who was for 20 plus years Klaus Schwab's best buddy, who said they spent hundreds of hours and the World Economic Forum would not be what it is today without Maurice Strong. So here's my point. I can confidently say I did the research. These guys are pushing a Luciferian agenda. You can call it Great Reset all you want, but it's old-fashioned theosophy, Lucifer worship that they're bringing to the planet, and the Bible is the only book that calls it.
Would part of that agenda be what we're seeing in the news this week in terms of, the line being drawn with a nuclear threshold with Putin, and then Biden, and then relating that to the Albert Pike letters?
Yeah.
The Third World War. It just seems like everything's being, pushed in one direction.
Yeah, it's a lot of this. Of course, the pandemic was staged. Yeah. I personally believe that Russia Ukraine was staged because both leaders are coming from the same source. They're just playing their parts, right? Exactly. And so, but if anybody hasn't watched it, earlier this year I finished a 10-week or 10-part book documentary video. You can get it on the website for free on Freemasonry.
Yeah.
And we exposed that Albert Pike's vision back in the late 1800s, that in order to bring about, again, they are Lucifer worshipers, Freemasonry.
Yeah.
And they believe that Lucifer's the light bearer. Yeah. So they follow the same line as Theosophy. And he received a demonic vision of what is coming, like bearer, essentially, the same lie as theosophy. And he received a demonic vision of what is coming, and that's the classic Albert Pike's 3 World War scenario, and predicted exactly what was going to happen to get people to receive this Luciferian guy, what we call the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. And you look at his vision in the late 1800s, it's 3 world wars. And you look at how he describes each war. Well, there was World War One. In fact, if you do the research, folks that helped start World War One were also Freemasons. Mm-hmm. So they kicked it off on purpose because they knew the demons told them that you need these 3 world wars to get people to bow down to receive this Luciferian order that they think is a good thing. And then, of course, they go into the second one, of course, World War II, but they talk about the third one. And this, mind you, in the late 1800s. And it talks about the final one is going to be between the Jewish people and the Muslim folks. And out of the ashes of that, he says, what it's going to do is prepare people to receive this Antichrist Luciferian order. And it's like, dude, we're following a script.
So with this, the Masonic element, or the age of provocateurs from the Masonic, do you think that's kind of led to this replacement, they are not the Jews kind of teaching? Because I know as a pastor, we've dealt with this. We've had people vacate the church because they're sort of belonging to that Masonic teaching, and they will turn around and say, these aren't the real Jews.
Right.
And how do you deal with that then? How do you... Because honestly, it feels like you're arguing against a brick wall, or it's so ingrained right now.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, and part of the problem is people may say that they're Christians, doesn't mean they are. Mm-hmm. People may say they're Christians and they follow the Bible. They may even quote some Latin, sola scriptura, and not even know what they're talking about. It sounds Christian. Yeah. It's supposed to be the Bible alone that determines our rule for faith and practice, that we get our beliefs from the Bible. Well, they could say that, quote that all want, even sound like they're in no Latin. Doesn't mean they do it. And what I've learned personally, at least in the States, Gary, most people who attend church services probably aren't even saved.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, even those that are saved, they say they follow the Bible, but they really don't. Mm-hmm. You know what they follow? Their own ideas.
Yeah.
Called relativism. I believe what's true to me, you can believe what's true to you, blah, blah, blah. It's relativism. Or social media.
Yeah.
Or the media.
Yes.
Or the secular school system. Or their friends, their personal opinion. They do not, when push comes to shove, what gets shoved out of the way is the Bible. Mm-hmm. So that's how you end up with all this baloney. Because you and I are scratching our heads to follow the Bible. They're like, how do you say that God's done with the Jews? What Bible are you reading? Well, that's the problem. They are. Yeah. They may own one. Doesn't mean they are reading it. Doesn't even mean they believe it, Gary. Mm-hmm. In fact, you were asking me what's wrong with the American church, and dare I say, over here too, what we witnessed. And I say this all the time, the American church today is so powerless, prayerless, and ineffective because it's flooded by non-Christians.
Wow.
Because the church has been, for 30 years now, been more interested in numerical growth than spiritual growth.
Yeah.
They're not making disciples. They're not even teaching the truth. But they'll get a lot of people to come. Mm-hmm. And so they're self-deceived. They think, well, I go to a church, I guess I must be saved. Or they said that God loves me and I just need to acknowledge that and I'm a Christian. No, that's not the gospel. This is happening because they're, dare I say, lusting after numbers. Mm-hmm. And the Bible says you want to be a good church, dare I say, a good shepherd. You teach disciples. Disciples is mathetes in the Greek, means mathematics. Disciplined learner. Mm-hmm. Not somebody that just jacks up the numbers and sits in a pew or a chair.
Yeah.
So a good church, somebody who's being faithful to Christ, is one who's about spiritual growth. And the churches that do that, then you don't come out going like, well, God's done with the Jewish people. You don't do that.
Yeah.
But that's not what's going on. It's just people are more concerned about just getting a bunch of people, and that's become the new success story. But then at the expense of what? Discipling, teaching the Bible. And so that I think is what's wrong. But here's my point. So you've attracted your numbers, but who are those numbers? They're people, Gary, that aren't even saved.
Yeah.
Not out in the world at a pub. Mm. We're talking people who attend a Sunday service or whatever. They're not saved. So here's my point. They've been doing that for 30 years. And what I've noticed, they've gone to the second stage. They used to be sitting there just in the pews or in the chairs. Now, Gary, they've wormed their way up behind the pulpit, the boards, denominational headquarters, seminaries, the whole 9 yards. Now you got non-Christians running the church. That's where we're at. That's why it's so messed up. That's why people come with these insane ideas like, what? God's done? Because you got non-Christians who are calling the shots.
It's like the Church of Pergamum repeated,
Yeah.
that marriage with the world. There's a program on every sort of lead up to Christmas over here, and it's I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where they put a bunch of celebrities in the jungle and they sort of torch them for a bit. And this year they've got a reverend in the jungle. And it kind of shocked me because I was watching it with my kids. The amount of expletives that came out of this man's mouth within just being there. And I'm kind of going, well, where's your example? How are you leading? We're accountable for every word that comes out of our mouth. And I kind of think that it all stops and starts at the pulpit. And I don't know if it's something that you experience, that other churches don't want to deal with you, or other ministries want to avoid you because you're teaching on eschatology, because you're teaching on the end times. Because I can speak from a personal point of view that I certainly find that here. I don't know what the climate's like in America. Is it more eschatological based? Do the people take dispensationalism as, we want to hear this, or is it rejected by the majority?
You have it's kind of a double-edged sword. You have the remnant that wants to, and dare I say, we're down to like remnant churches.
Yeah.
And that used to be the norm. That just basic Bible believing church, and not saying you got to preach on prophecy every week, but 1/3 of the Bible deals directly or indirectly. So at some point you got to hit it. You can't skip it forever. But that used to be the norm. Not anymore. That which is normal has now become abnormal. Because everybody's in lust with all these numbers and fluff and all that stuff, which, again, the irony is what Bob predicts would happen these days, right? But there's another layer of that, not just there's a remnant. It's the same thing. And by the way, Gary, it's not just in the West. It's everywhere in the world. Yeah. I had the privilege earlier this year. I was speaking in Australia and New Zealand. Same thing there. Really? It's just a remnant. Then I was speaking in Singapore. Same thing there. What church presence there was, not a lot. Same thing. Church growth movement, baloney, blah, 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 blah. Or this hyper charismatic extreme stuff. And then I was in Taiwan and Japan. Same thing. In fact, I was there. This is totally the Lord, totally cool. And I was the first church I spoke at in Japan. I just spoke of basic prophecy. I didn't have nothing. Just basics. Right? And she comes after me, and she's bawling. I go, oh boy, now. She's crying. She goes, Pastor Billy, she's grabbed me. She says, you have no idea what this means to me. She said, watch this. She says, I've been praying for a year nonstop that God would bring prophecy to our church. And I said, oh my word. I do. But see, here's my point. There's a remnant. And this is everywhere. Dude, we've been all over the world, man. Here we just got back from Switzerland. Before that was Scotland. Same thing. Everywhere we go, it's the same thing. So it's not just a Western thing; it's a global. Go figure. But here's also what we learned: there is a remnant, but there's another side to this. What we've learned is these fakers. I call them the gatekeepers. There's a lot more people, I think, who want to be equipped. Yeah. But they're never going to get equipped because the gatekeepers are in the position. Could be the pastors, the boards, and they're the ones who are keeping it from the church. See, because people say, well, we don't want to teach on prophecy because nobody's really interested. Well, no, they really are. It's you, the gatekeeper, who's refusing to teach it. You see what I'm saying? Yes, I do. So there's another layer that we're learning, and this is global again. This is happening all over the world all at the same time.
I find it peculiar because the resistance that you get from other churches isn't what you hear on the street. So when we go out in the street and we witness to people, from non-believers, the biggest question I get asked is this end times? And when you're avoiding prophecy whilst you're living in prophetic times, I think you're sticking your head in the sand. There's an awful lot happening. I don't know. We don't have the time to talk about it all. But there's currently at the minute a farming issue going on in the UK.
Right.
We have farmers in the church, and it's all a ploy, because if you do research and actually look into it, they're saying that the Labour government are saying we are going to plug a £22 billion black hole by getting this inheritance tax off these farmers. But independent legacy farmers like family farmers, are only 5% of landowners. So corporations aren't being touched. The aristocracy aren't being touched.
Yeah.
And I know in America that certain wealthy people are buying up farmland.
Back to Killgates again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you see the end time goal in this? Obviously something to do with the climate issue.
Oh yeah, the climate change is baloney. That's just an excuse to take over the globe. They got to create a global crisis, even if it's fake, climate change, in order to have an excuse to take over the planet.
Yes.
That's what they're doing, as well as encourage a one world religion, because we all got to work together, Gary, to save the planet, blah, blah, blah. So that's really the agenda. I did a whole study on this in the last documentary, and I exposed the food angle. Why are they attacking farmers? Why are they attacking the food supply? In America, and even here in the UK, have you noticed that food production plants are blowing up, burning up, whatever? So they're deliberately destroying the food supply. They're deliberately destroying the economy to make inflation go through the roof, which means everything's more expensive. So they're destroying the food. They're increasing the price of food, right? And then on top of that, they're buying up the land for food, or they're forcing people who make the food out of the food industry. And I got this on tape. I got it on tape, dude. I couldn't believe it. I go, ooh, hurry up and get that offline before they delete that one. On tape. I got these guys in. You know what the goal is?
Mm-hmm.
The goal is for the World Economic Forum to take over the food supply. Watch this. It gets worse. And then they're going to create what are called World Economic Food Hubs at certain strategic places around the world, and they will distribute the food. And what are you talking about here? Revelation 6.
Yeah.
In the first half of the seven tribulation, what's it say there? The famine conditions are so bad after that global war.
Yes.
That what? That there's apparently a global food distribution program, because it says, if you want some food, you will have to work for them.
Yeah.
1 day's work, you can get 3 quarts of barley or 1 quart of wheat. Barley's basically not that good for food, but basically you have to work for them in order to eat. Now, first of all, if you got to take that literally, which you should, then you're going to have somebody controlling the food supply, and then you're going to have somebody create a system of subsistence to where you have to work for them to get your subsistence, which is the Great Reset, dude.
Control. Yeah.
It's control. They what's Klaus Schwab? The first thing, you'll own nothing, be happy.
Yeah. I know.
They will make sure you have food in a prison. I mean, a place to live, right? And all that belonging.
Yeah.
But then when you add, this is why they're destroying the food supply. This is why they're pushing the farmers out, because they're controlling the food supply. And Gary, 2,000 years ago, God called it out. This is going to culminate into the World Distribution Food Program in Revelation chapter 6. They're building it right now. I got them on tape.
It's like what Henry Kissinger said: control the food and you control the populace.
Yeah. In fact, I got another guy that quoted in the food industry, and he said, food is fuel. He said, you can't run a tractor without fuel, and you can't run a human without food. So when you control the food, you control the humans.
Yeah.
This is from them, dude. And so they admit, hey, you can keep the oil and whatever, but if you really want to control people, grab the food supply.
Yeah.
Because you can live a while without fuel. But you got to have food.
I don't know if
they admit, hey, you can keep the oil and whatever, but if you really want to control people, grab the food supply.
Yeah.
Because you can live a while without fuel. But you got to have food.
I don't know if we're okay for time, because I've got one more question. Are we?
Yeah, one more.
Yes. In terms of the structure of things right now, we're seeing that the WHO pandemic accord still in play. Over here in Northern Ireland, they've run in the Northern Ireland Health Bill, which I don't believe it's been completely ratified yet, but it's in line with the WHO pandemic treaty. Says forced vaccinations, mandatory.
Yeah.
If you don't get it, or if you are in some way infected, they have the right to take your property. So all of this is coming in. Well, the big thing that interests me is the likes of the Future Summit, the Future Pact Summit,
Mhm.
in which, and the WHO pandemic treaty, in which both allow for, in the point of a polycrisis or global risks, all power to go to one individual.
Mhm.
Do you think we're close?
Well, they're not only close. A lot of people think that they backed off on this basic global passport system
Mm-hmm.
that is tied in with your vaccination status. And if you don't get the shots that they say, you don't get to go anywhere. Most people thought that died down. Most people thought that with the last treaty being shot down, that it's over.
Yeah.
Dude, we just got back from Switzerland, right? And in Switzerland, they informed us that in their area, and don't quote me on this, but I won't say they said uh, Bulgaria, but it was already one country is already doing it.
Yeah.
As a test bed. But they're in their area in Switzerland. They already told us it's coming. They're saying by 2026,
Really?
they will have it launched. Bulgaria, don't quote me on that, but there was a country over there that the whole country right now, as we sit here to this interview, they're already doing it.
Wow.
So that agenda has not stopped, Gary. It's going, and I'll tell you this, and this is what we told them. We said, that's what we were suspecting, because we know these guys aren't going to give up. And part of that is to limit our travel.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why myself and these other speakers here, now for the second year in a row, as I mentioned, the other countries we're going to, and which, believe you me, I'm not complaining, but explaining. It's not a pleasure cruise. It's just very exhausting. But our heart is, we were shut down from any international travel for 2 years of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we learned a powerful lesson. Don't take it for granted. Mm-hmm. And so when the doors open back up, which are currently open now, we have been, here's my point, we have been investing so much energy, so many resources. We pay our own dime to come over here and make this spiritual investment. And to reach as much of the international community face to face, encourage them to come together, to fellowship, to connect, right? The remnant's still there. You're not alone. Come together because we know what's coming. Yeah. They're going to do it, Gary. They've already told you they're going to do it. And so we've had a good 2-year run. Mm-hmm. According to these folks, I'm not saying that's forward, but their plans are by 2026, it's going to be enforced. Wow. And so what's going to happen is, guess what? We're not going to come over here because I ain't getting no jab. Yeah. I reckon nobody get no jab. Yeah. Right. They've already showed their hands. Right. But my point is, this is their plan. So that's why we've been dumping so much energy into getting in this window. Yes. As much international travel, connections, instructions, encouragement, face to face. Because if we're still alive, still here, we're going to be locked into the States again.
Yeah. Well, can I just say, as a follower of your ministry and as a follower of Pastor Brandon's and so on, and all the Tree Ministries and Mondo, we're really grateful for it. And as a pastor, I'm grateful as well, because from last year, we had people who we connected with who found our church based on here, based on this conference. Yeah. And these were people who have kind of, like, they'd given up on going to church since the pandemic because they found they were kind of disillusioned by what they had seen during the pandemic. So many churches closing, churches that remained closed for years, and even at that, the lack of biblical teaching, or the lack of people actually teaching end times or teaching prophecy. So I'm very thankful. And I know that we have a contingent in there today here from the church, and I'm sure they're very thankful too, because these types of events, they've made a difference.
Well, and that's what we're hoping, and not only just with again, there's a double-edged sword. It's not just we want to come and instruct them about prophecy. That's not a lot. I'm not saying in your case, you're being a faithful shepherd, but for a lot of them, they just don't get this. Yeah. But like you said, they're interested, but the gatekeepers keep them from getting it. Yes. Even the lost are interested. Yes. And that's what's really sad, because what a great way to share the gospel. But anyway, so it's not just instruction. It's we become, if you will, the excuse. Yes. For the remnant in this particular area to come together. And then look around. Yeah. You thought you were alone, but you're not. Exactly. There's still some of us out there. Yeah. But even after we're long gone, connect, get to know each other, drive, do something. You're not alone. Because we need fellowship as Christians. And that's what Hebrews says, right? Don't forsake the assembly. Well, I ain't got nothing. Well, you might have to drive a little bit. But guess what? And keep reading, though. It's not just, I got to go to church services. No. To encourage one another.
Yeah.
Especially as we see the day of evil approaching.
Amen.
We need each other, man. We need to encourage one another in the Lord, to be encouraged in the Word, right? And so, but we got to get it out of our head that it's going to come easy. I tell people all the time, you're either going to have to drive, move, or become a home church.
Yes. Amen. Well, you're an encourager to me. So
amen. Well, hey, keep up the good work, man.
Yeah, thank you. And if you don't already, follow Pastor Billy at getalifemedia.com. So you can get it's a treasure trove of information and studies and Bible studies, and it's worthwhile just digging into what he has to offer.
That's awesome.